Before we start with today's review, I'd like to say a big, enormous thank you to all of you guys throughout this entire series. 10 whole Doctor Who episodes through Series 12 for the first time in just over a year, and we're going to be waiting 8 months until the next episode. So thank you all so much for jumping onto the channel, whether you're a new viewer, we've been around for a year, we've been around for a month, whenever you started watching the channel. I really appreciate all the new subscribers, all the new viewers, and I just want to let you know that even though the series is over, we've got lots more exciting Doctor Who content on the way, including list rankings of especially Cyberman designs after the last 2 episodes, but also more reviews coming up, classic Who stuff, more Drunk Lord stuff, etc, etc, etc. We're going to be taking requests, suggestions, all that sort of stuff, because we've got 8 months to get through, and I can't wait to get started. So starting next week, we're going to have our Series 12 whole review, redoing all of the little things. I'm going to rewatch the whole series and we're going to just go over everything again, but a little bit more short and a little bit more concise. But yeah, that's that. We've got lots of stuff to talk about and lots of stuff to do over the next few weeks. So if you are a viewer, I'm just letting you know, stick around. There's more Doctor Who stuff to come, even if the series is finished. So yeah, subscribe, like, all that sort of stuff, and let's get on with the review of The Timeless Children. Hello everybody, I am Ace Creeper, and today I'm back with another Doctor Who Series 12 review, the very last one for 8 months. We're reviewing today Series 12, Episode 10, The Timeless Children. There is a stupid amount to talk about, and I don't even know where to start. So this is just my initial reaction review, that's worth noting, because my opinion may change by the time we do our full Series 12 review next week. But for now, let's talk about The Timeless Children. I just don't know where to start with this one. Let's talk about the story. So the story follows on from last time. We have a look at Gallifrey with the Master and the Doctor. The Master tries to show the Doctor about the Timeless Child, the history of Gallifrey and what they've been lied to about, and why it's such a big deal, obviously, as well. We also have the Cybermen who are trying to invade and wipe out humanity, who again join in with that, come through the barrier and land on Gallifrey. Meanwhile, the Master is also trying to help them to conquer the universe by not just wiping out humanity and becoming robots, which I thought was actually quite an interesting plot point, we'll get to that, but actually ascending by becoming part Cyberman, part Time Lord, which again, fantastically interesting concept that I would love to talk about in more detail later on. We've got the humans and Graham and Ryan and all that sort of thing who are just sort of there, and that's that. That's basically the whole story. It's a great sort of concise thing, however, it's really complicated. It's so over the top and mental, and general audiences probably will be lost on this, genuinely. I don't see anyone who hasn't watched the history of Doctor Who, or at least the last few years, really understanding what's going on here. The whole Gallifrey stuff and the Timeless Child and all that stuff, even to the Brain of Morbius stuff. Like, there is so much to unpack that I don't even understand half the stuff. I'm just kind of picking apart what I got from it and how I perceive it, which I presume is right, but when I rewatch it in the next few days, I might think something totally different of it. But yeah, very interesting stuff as of yet. Let's talk about characters, because there's quite a few characters to go through, but we're going to talk about the main ones. We'll start with the 13th Doctor and Jodie Whittaker. For the 10th time this series, I'm going to say it, Jodie Whittaker absolutely smashed it out of the park. I know a lot of people seem to disagree with me on that one in the comments. I've seen a few people not really jumping on that and going, oh, you're wrong. Well, no, it's just my opinion, mate, and realistically, I think Jodie Whittaker's done a smashing job this series. I think she's totally leveled up from Series 11, where I didn't not like her performance, but it was too happy-go-lucky, and that was all in the script writing. Seeing Jodie actually be able to explore her acting skill in the more depressing grief side of things is fantastic, and this episode did not disappoint. She was genuinely fantastic. All the stuff in the Time Lord Matrix and all the stuff at the end when she's confronting the Master, almost ready to kill herself and wipe out every life on Gallifrey. It was an emotional scene, and it was really well done by Jodie Whittaker. Genuinely no complaints there, and especially with that little cliffhanger ending and the sort of what, very David Tennant-esque. And to be honest with you, she's the Doctor now. She really is the Doctor. So I'll be a bit disappointed if at the end of the next series she regenerates, because it just feels like, just as I'm starting to really get into the groove of Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor, I feel like I'm worried that 21 episodes in to her era, we're over halfway. And I really hope we're not over halfway, because if we are, then that would be genuinely disappointing. I'm hoping we've got another 21 episodes to come, at least. Because genuinely, Jodie Whittaker's really getting into the groove as the Doctor, and I would love to see what else she can do with it. But yeah, genuinely for this episode and the whole series, Jodie has absolutely smashed it. Let's talk about the Master, played by Sacha Dhawan. One of the best Masters. I genuinely mean that. And that's really difficult, because I know a lot of fans are very picky and very hesitant, especially with new Masters and different actors to take different, takes and more modern versions of the role. However, I prefer him to Missy. I prefer him to John Sim. I never thought I'd say that. Jacoby's a difficult one because he's done some great stuff with Big Finish. Definitely better than Eric Roberts. And Anthony Ainley and Roger Delgado are the OGs. It's hard to compare, but I genuinely think Sacha Dhawan is probably in my top 3 in terms of the Master. His performance is so just bang on to the T of the character that it's just a spectacle to watch. It's accompanied brilliantly by Segun Akinola's fantastic score for the Master, which again, I prefer Segun Akinola's Master theme to Michelle Gomez's Master theme, or John Sims. Even John Sims, that iconic theme, I prefer Sacha Dhawan's because it's notes that can be used. The Master's theme was used in a heavy, ecstatic, wild sense. It was used in a slow, somber sense. It was used in conjunction with the new Cyberman theme and beyond. It's so well done, and it really is impressive. But yeah, the Master in himself, played by Sacha Dhawan, is brilliant. The nature of the performance, the darker, quieter moments, as well as the ecstatic, wild, laughing ones, all of them are the Master. Using the tissue compression, the music, and the actions, and the references, and it's perfect for me. And it's the kind of Master that I want to see continue. Now, I know he died. He didn't. In my opinion, and the way I look at TV stuff is like, if you don't see someone die on screen, they're not dead. And the Master's the Master, after all. He's come back from death a dozen times plus. So I'm very much expecting... I'm expecting a John Sims scenario with David Tennant. We're on Jodie's second series, and the Master appeared in Tennant's second series. I reckon Jodie might get another 1 or 2 series, and Sacha Dhawan will reappear for Jodie's regeneration story, which would be very interesting. So I'll see where that goes, but that's my kind of prediction as of yet. However, he's definitely coming back, and he's definitely coming back to play the Master again. You wouldn't scrap an actor that good, so very, very much looking forward to it, to seeing where that goes. Yeah. Talking about companions, Graham, yeah, I mean, the companions overall were fine, but Graham, yeah, fine. He had a great little speech towards Yaz. I thought that was really heartfelt, really emotional, really proper, human, genuine. Felt real. I really liked that moment. That's all Graham really did in this story. Yasmin responded to that lovely compliment, and that's all she did in this story. Ryan messed about with a gun, and that's all he really did in this story. I like it, and I don't have anything major against it. However, the companions are almost redundant in this story, and that's fine because it's a story about the Doctor and the Master and the Timeless Child and Gallifrey, which I love, don't get me wrong, and I'm just a bit disappointed because the companions never seem like they have stuff to do. They do stuff, but they do very little, and I'm not complaining, it's just almost as if, like, and I know it would have been beneficial as well to have maybe one of the companions perhaps die or leave. However, I'd also argue at the same time is that there probably wasn't enough time for that. The episode was long enough and complicated enough without a forced companion goodbye. I can see 1 or 2 of them leaving in the special. Potentially. We'll see. It's a Dalek story. We'll get onto this in a bit, by the way, but it's a Dalek story. I can see 1 or 2 of them leaving, maybe. That would be great if that is the case, and then we'll have like 1 or 2 companions for Series 13. As of yet, I don't really care enough about the companions. We'll talk about this in the sort of overall series review, but in this episode they didn't really do much, and there's not really much for me to talk about in regards to them, but, I like their performances on the most part. Nothing really majorly wrong with them. Just fine, really. I just haven't really got anything to say. The Cybermen, which versions? All of them. There were so many different types of Cybermen in the last 2 stories. It's actually unreal. So I'm going to be doing a Cyberman list ranking in terms of their new designs and their voices and everything like that. All ranked, because I have to update it. It's like 5 new designs in the last 2 episodes. I'm not even joking. I should look back. Because we have the Time Lord ones, which we'll talk about in just a second. The Warrior ones. The Lone Cyberman. And it's 4, not 5. 5 if you include the drone heads. And there's also another one in space as well, which has sort of got the body of the Warrior Cybermen, but the head of the Cybus ones. So, really weird combinations of different things. However, hey, more Cyberman designs to talk about. I'm not complaining. The Cybermen stuff was great. Really, really good stuff. The Master and Aarstad kind of addressed the idea that the Cybermen are trying to upgrade beyond, biological parts to become fully just robots. I don't like it. I'll be honest, I don't like it. The Cybermen for me work best when it's body horror. World Enough and Time did it perfectly, as did the 10th Planet, as did some of Classic Who. The best Cybermen are the ones that are more primitive and much more body horror focused, which is kind of why I like the haunting of Villa Diodati, because the Lone Cyberman had that sort of haunting kind of design to it, where it's sort of just creepy and half human and whatever. I got a sense with the newer ones, especially the ones in Nightmare and Silver, that they're trying to make them like robots, and I like the idea that the Cybermen are like, we should become robots. I disagree. I don't like that. However, it makes sense in terms of story, and I actually quite like how they explain that, and it does actually give a lot of justice to the fact that the last few years the Cybermen have become more like just emotionless robots instead of actual just like upgraded humans. So it has been interesting to have that explanation, that stuff warranted and talked about and explained properly. However, I do like the Master's shutdown of, but why do that? There's loads of robots in the universe. Why did the Cybermen just join along with them? It's boring. Let's do something proper. And I really like that. The Cyber Time Lord idea, I think, is something so fascinating and actually genuinely quite interesting. I hope it's not the last we see of them, but I have a sneaking suspicion it will be the last we see of them. Cybermen Time Lords. I mean, there is some interesting stuff to talk about that, and we'll get to it in just a bit. But yeah, fascinating concept. Talking about big specific things, because we've got to get through some of the stuff. Let's talk about the Timeless Child. Do I like what they did with the Timeless Child? Yeah, actually, I think I'm in a minority, maybe. I don't know. I haven't really looked at Twitter too much. I know a few people really didn't like it, and a few people really liked it. I've not really seen much in between. I'm kind of in between on the whole story. Timeless Child stuff, the pre-Hartnell Doctor, the fact that the Doctor was the original Gallifreyan, like the original, not really Gallifreyan, but the original thing that, the first ever regeneration was the Doctor. The Doctor who just regenerated and was tested on and became the format for all Time Lords. Fantastic! I love that! Because realistically the Doctor is special. The Doctor has always been special, and it's never really been explained as to why. They tried to do the half human, half Time Lord thing. Glad they didn't do that, so thanks Chibnall for being a little bit better than Moffat tried to suggest in Hellbent, or the TV movie producers. I hate that story. I kind of love this. It adds a bit of, it removes a bit of the mystique from the Doctor and their history, but it opens up the ballpark. Like, it really opens up the ballpark to see any different version of the Doctor. You can have a one-shot cameo, like Ruth, one-shot cameo of any famous actor. People have said, oh, Richard Ayoade would be a great Doctor. I personally disagree. I don't want to see Richard Ayoade as the Doctor, but hey, if you want to do it for an anniversary special and bring him in and just say he's pre-Hartnell, then you can. You've got more creative freedom than ever. And Chris Chibnall's almost opened himself a new writing board, and I love that. I kind of love that. I know people will have problems with it, but it's explained. It's explained that basically, at the end, this sort of Brendan character thing that we saw was just a sort of an easier way of showing what they were doing, and that is they basically reduced the Doctor to a child. Remember how the Master used the chameleon arc and turned himself into a child with no memory of the Master? I feel like it's the same with the Doctor, just without the whole turning into a human thing. It's just they used similar tech to totally wipe the Doctor's mind, turn them into a child, and stick them in the academy to raise and live, with the Master, and then that child is William Hartnell's Doctor. This whole string of Doctors, but actually the character existed all the way into Ancient Gallifrey. That is bloody brilliant. I really like that. I really did find that fascinating, and I know that's going to really hurt some people, especially some classic fans, and I get that. However, Doctor Who, for the last few years, and I hate to say this, has kind of been devoid of anything majorly interesting, especially with the Doctor. I'll level with you, they've been bouncing on the Doctor's name since, Series 6, Series 7? I don't care. It could just be Brendan, it could be Brian, it could be Bob, it could be Keith. I don't care what the Doctor's name is. It could be anything. It doesn't matter to me. This whole thing about the name would burn armies to the ground. Well, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. Rubbish. Rubbish, would it? What is fascinating about it is this adds some sort of new exciting part to Doctor Who lore. It canonizes a lot of things, it plays about with a lot of things, and it's damaging. Sure, it's dangerous, but it's ballsy, and I honestly respect the balls on Gjemble for managing to actually pull this off. Whether you like it or not, he's pulled it off. It works with canon. It actually works. And it fixes a plot hole which has been around since the 4th Doctor era in the brain of Morbius, with those other versions of the Doctor, and everyone's like, well, that's not the Doctor. Yes, it is now, and it works. Everyone has almost tried to cut Brain of Morbius out their watch list because it's not technically canon. It is now. There we go. Gjemble's fixed a plot hole that's been around for like 30 years. Nice one. I genuinely respect the balls on Gjemble for doing something so big and grand and amazing. Yes, it's damaging. Yes, it's totally mental. And I totally agree with everyone when they say this is so weird and wonderful and it's way too much. Because it is way too much. It's way too much for general audiences, but as a Doctor Who fan, I am back to being passionate again. I am back to loving the show. I am back to a sense of just, yes! Chaos! Doctor Who fandom chaos. I'll go on Twitter later and people will be fighting back and forward, but no longer about whether the Doctor should be a woman or not. They'll be fighting about all this stuff, all this mental stuff. How many versions of the Doctor existed? Do regeneration cycles even matter for the Doctor if she's the timeless child? If she just regenerates and regenerates and regenerates and regenerates, the limit of 13 regenerations was put on by the Time Lords, not to the timeless child. The timeless child just goes on and on and on and on. So did that extra regeneration cycle that Matt Smith got given, was that even important? Did he even need that? Probably not. The Doctor's just going to keep living forever. So no more worries about the regeneration cycle stuff, thank God. Let's move on from that. Moffat covered it. Let's move on. The Doctor can keep living and living and living, and the show can keep living and living and living, and that works for me. Whew. Rant over. Basically, in short, I really like it. You don't have to. If you like it, brilliant. If you don't like it, brilliant. Are you going to complain about it either way? Probably. Let's talk. Let's discuss. That's what Doctor Who fans are good at. Discussing, but without arguing. That's a lot of rubbish. People argue, but discuss, be friendly, be positive and brilliant, because Doctor Who's a great show, and what this episode's really proved is that the lore and canon so rich and brilliant. It's just, there's so much of it. It's brilliant. It is amazing, and I'm very, very happy with that. In short, the Gallifrey stuff was great. Seeing the Time Lord flashbacks and seeing Gallifrey Citadel being built, gorgeous, absolutely brilliant. Love the new CGI budget as well. That was really just incredible to see. I felt more of a sense of actually seeing Gallifrey than I did with Hellbent, which just felt like CGI corridors and weird big white rooms. This felt so much more like how I imagined Gallifrey would be. So much more, and I love that. I really did love that, yeah. The Cyber Time Lords were pretty cool. Just in short, really liked that concept. Fascinating one, I really hope they come back. Something interesting that came to mind though. Do you remember Series 9? Do you remember how Moffat never really explained what the hybrid was? 2 warrior races forged together, standing in Gallifrey's ruins. Cybermen? Time Lords? Maybe? I don't know. I don't think it was intentional, but it works. It works. The hybrid, finally. It's been answered. Woo! The Jadoon cliffhanger was brilliant. I really like seeing them pop up. It was very, very quick and very rushed. However, I like it. It's a great way to leave the audiences wanting more, and I'm very happy about that. The music was brilliant. Sega Nakanola did a fantastic job. Yeah, just great stuff all throughout. We'll talk more about Sega Nakanola's music in the Series 12 whole review. For now, fantastic stuff. Genuinely brilliant stuff, especially in this episode. I personally think this is one of, if not the best finale in years. Genuinely. From the bottom of my heart. Maybe Series 10 holds up, but I think even some of the concepts in Series 10, like, for example, a simple concept is Cybermen upgrading Time Lords. One line about changing a number and, like, just turning them into normal Cybermen in Series 10, whereas this shows what Time Lord and cyber technology merged together could really achieve. That's fascinating. That was better done than I believe it was in The Doctor Falls for me. I do love World Enough in Time, and it's still better than either of the episodes put up last week, don't get me wrong. However, as a concise, like, finale story, I've never felt this sort of hit back by Doctor Who lore stuff since, I don't know, Series 7 with, like, Day of the Doctor and Time of the Doctor? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe, like, I just don't know, maybe Journey's End with Davros and stuff? maybe even parting of the ways. I don't actually know, but this is probably the most exciting and biggest bombastic Doctor Who lore-changing, canon editing finale in years. And yes, it's better than Hellbent. It's so much better than Hellbent. It is. It's so much better than Hellbent. I love it. It's fantastic. The episode has a lot of downsides, obviously, here and there. It does deserve snipping. I thought Aarstad was quite quickly gotten rid of. A great character that could have been like the Davros of the Cybermen, could have shown up again in the future. Kind of wasted. The human characters never really felt fleshed out. They really skipped over the Ruth stuff. I was expecting the Ruth Doctor to have a bit more of a role to play, to be honest with you. But I just don't know. There was a few downsides, but I just don't care. I really enjoyed it. I love what it did to canon, and I think that's the biggest thing for me, is that as a big Doctor Who fan, I love how it just sort of adds this whole new layer and this whole new universe to the Gallifrey's history, to the Doctor's own personal history. It's fascinating. It's genuinely fascinating, and to be honest with you, I love it. Yes, it has some downsides. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, you can prefer other finales if you want, but my personal opinion is my personal opinion. To be honest with you, it's an 8 out of 10. Better than Hellbent. Anyway, that's pretty much it. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. Comment below for any more suggestions in the future. Subscribe to the channel with notifications on, because we're going to be hitting you with more Doctor Who content with the weeks to come. We've got Cybermen design rankings. I'm going to rank all the Doctor Who series and New Who. I'm also going to do some classic reviews sometime soon. I've got some more Drunk Lords on the way, where me and my mate have a drink, watch some rubbish Doctor Who episodes. I think next might be Orphan 55, so you can look forward to that one. We've also got a big Series 12 review as well, where we're going to just basically break down everything, including ratings, hopefully. Just kind of talk about that a little bit, because I know a lot of people worry about that, and I feel it's important breaking down in a video. Beyond that, suggest whatever you want. I'll pick it up. I'll probably think of it as an idea and go for it. Yeah, I have a Patreon page if you want to support the channel. You can get early access content and all that stuff on there. I've been pretty slow in terms of Patreon over the last couple of months, because Doctor Who episodes come out live and I just stick the reviews straight up, so there's not really much early access stuff. Now there probably will be more early access stuff, so there's no better time to become a Patreon than now, really. So check that out in the link in the description if you are interested in supporting the channel financially. Totally optional though, totally optional. If you want to check out my social media, I've got Twitter, I've got Instagram, I've got all that sort of stuff. That's all linked in the description below, so you can go and check that out there as well. I will see you all next time. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.